Hello, I'm just testing something. I've been encouraged by a couple of my sisters to do my daily reflections on YouTube. I'm not a big fan of this, but I'm going to try it. So this is just like testing 1, 2, 3. And actually, I'm just going to be reading from a book I'm reading right now. It's called A Quiet Place. It's by Father John Bartunek. And I'm halfway through the book, or almost all the way through the book, so I'm just going to continue where I am just to test this. So I'm on chapter 5, and this book, by the way, is about prayer. It's wonderful. I'm so inspired and moved by it. And chapter 5 is getting more out of Mass. So let me just read a couple of paragraphs just to test this theory that my sister Lori said I should do. We might have the impression that the requirement to attend Mass every Sunday and holy day of obligation is arbitrary, as if the Church were on some kind of meaningless power trip, trying to control our lives and keep us in line. Nothing could be further from the truth. Mass is the anchor of our spiritual and moral life. It holds everything else in place. If we let that anchor hang loose, sooner or later, the rest of our lives will drift off course, dragged away by the powerful currents of selfishness and temptation. The Mass, the center of the liturgy, is our anchor because it is objective contact with God, and we need contact with God to find fulfillment in life. Other ways of encountering God, such as personal prayer, are helpful too, and even necessary, but cut off from the Mass, they lose their objectivity. Often they depend on feelings or other external factors. If we go to a praise and worship gathering and feel good, we think we had contact with God. If we go to a praise and worship gathering and feel bad, we wonder. When we make time for personal prayer, we sometimes get distracted. We'll talk about that later. Or even fall asleep, or feel as if we run out of things to say. When that happens, we can feel unsure of ourselves, uncertain whether we are really praying as we should. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't participate in these kinds of activities. It just emphasizes our need for an objective way of approaching God, a way that doesn't depend primarily on our own efforts, ideas, or feelings. That's a key role of liturgical prayer, the center of which is the Mass. Mass is the perfect act of worship, the perfect prayer, objectively perfect, because the Mass is Jesus Christ's own prayer, his own sacrifice, his own act of worship, truly made present for us, whether or not we happen to feel any spiritual warm fuzzies. And I'll stop right there. And that's this book right here, A Quiet Place, How Daily Prayer Can Change Your Lives, by Father John Bartunek. So that's what I was reading from. And so I'm just going to stop right there and see if I can figure out how to shut this off and all of that. Okay, here we go.